God. Can you believe we're here? So I'm Leanne. Hello, your host. And Mike may pop in. I'm not 100% sure, but we just didn't want to miss out on doing this podcast episode. And this might be the last. I think it's probably going to be the last one. So um, I just kind of wanted to hop on and share with you guys what's been going on the last 5 months, especially with the show and, you know, why we haven't been here, what our plans were, what our tentative plans are now, and what we're both doing. So we have been so grateful for this community. And we've had, I don't even know what episode this is. I feel like it's well over 100, and we've had a lot of really great guests. We've had a lot of really great conversations. Um, we're going to continue doing the book club. We're just closing it for, new members, but we're not getting rid of that because that has been every single week. That has remained. And so, all of you that are in it, don't worry, that's not going anywhere. We're going to continue doing that every week because the conversations in there are just so powerful and so uplifting. And we share the wisdom, and there's an education. And my favorite is the empowerment. So the book club is going to remain. But the podcast, the way that, we've been doing it, I think we're going to get rid of it. So, what we wanted is, because we love the guests that we've had and the interviews that we've had, and you, the listeners, we have just absolutely loved. We've made such good friends through this podcast that it's really sad that we're not going to continue doing it. But here's what happened. So back in August, September, I was becoming overwhelmed with everything that I was doing, but then also a big part of it was I really wanted just so much more from this podcast. And with the name First Day Pod, I always wanted it to be like around the name and then around what you guys have been used to, that we've been talking about addiction and everything from, Mike's opioid addiction to both of our food addiction to thought addiction to just eating disorders in general. Like, we've touched on a lot of really important conversations, and a lot of them are really, really personal to Mike and I. And so then it kind of morphed into where I was doing a lot of the shows on my own because Mike has been super busy with, getting his master's and then now working in the field as a therapist and juggling, his other passions and his other things, that we wanted to continue doing this, but it was tough to juggle his schedule, my schedule, and sticking to this. So I started doing it. And it was more it was less about addiction and more about, um, hacking, life hacks, and how to do personal growth, together and all of that kind of thing. And, it was really good, and I really liked it, and I really enjoyed it. But then every time that I went to go do an episode, it was like, how does this tie into what people were wanting?" And you guys were loving it because the conversations were amazing. They were so fun, and they were empowering, not only for like the listeners, you guys, but for me. So then I started this little project. It was called Hello Happy, and I was really, really loving it. And that was a lot of fun. And so I was gonna do that and this. And then that Hello Happy morphed into, you know what, I'm gonna do my own podcast. And I still had the intention of doing this podcast with Mike, but our schedules it was so difficult to connect them that I started doing that podcast. And I started that a couple weeks ago. It's called The Friendly Show. I'm loving it. And I love that I can do it on my own schedule. We still do, we do one podcast every Wednesday at 8. So that it still has this kind of back and forth with the comments, which is my favorite part. So when I started doing that, before I started that, Mike was like, well, maybe what we do is we take the first day pod and we rebrand it into your friendly show, like the friendly show. And I was like, no, no, we can do both. We can do both. Let's keep both of them together. And so then I was like, what if we just do the first day pod on the first day of every month? Let's just do that. And it'll be 12 times a year, but at least it's once a month that we're coming and we're being here with everybody. And that sounded like a really great idea. And then Thursday happened, and Mike ended up having clients until 9 o'clock at night. So he wasn't out of there before 10 o'clock. I think it was like 9:45. And he's like, okay, I'm just leaving now. And we were supposed to do a show that night, but he just couldn't because you have to, I mean, he's got to take his clients. So now it wasn't the first day. So then we were like, okay, we'll do it on the weekend. And Mike was supposed to be here. Womp, womp, womp. Mike was supposed to be here. He was going to be here. He was here yesterday. Something ended up happening. Then he had to go back. And so we're not together. And so now that's just the way that our life is. It is very all over the place. And it's hard to get to those two schedules together to see each other, let alone to do a podcast. So then we were like, okay, well, now yesterday, last night at midnight, we had this conversation and it was like, okay, what are we going to do? And what are we going to do about the show? And um, we juggled around and we still haven't come up with a decision, but I think I'm going to just make the executive decision. I have the friendly show, which is going to be very similar to this. We're going to touch on it really is a place that is I want to build a circle of friends where people don't feel alone. Okay? So that's basically what we were doing here, right? But just not under the premise of addiction and mental health. It's just the friendly show. So I liked the fact that we had Mike because he really did have a really good insight being a therapist. But now the friendly show is just me, your friend, Lee. Like that's all that it is. And it's growing to be something really exciting and real and raw and just a great circle, a great friendship circle. So, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to look into what that means. I should have done this when Mike first suggested it months ago about taking all of our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of thing, and shifting it to the friendly show. And what we'll do is when Mike and I can get our schedules together, we'll do an episode on the friendly show and we'll be there together. So you guys will still get to hear him. But at least then I can, instead of juggling the two podcasts, everything can come over there. So that's what we're going to do. I'm really sad to see First Day Pod kind of dissolve, but it's kind of been that way. It's been just shy of 5 months since we've been here. And time flies. And I want you guys to know that we think about you guys every single day. We're always talking about when are we going to do a show? When are we going to do a show? And you guys know, I mean, maybe you don't. Maybe your life is like really by the book scheduled and you feel really good and like you don't lose track of anything. But for us, it doesn't feel like it's been 5 months since we've been here. September 12th was our last show. And it doesn't feel like it's been that long because we've thought about it so much and because we have the book club every single week. So we're seeing some of you guys every week. So time just flies. But I didn't want to just make this decision and not be here for you guys to let you know and also be here if you have comments or questions. Or I don't see any in the feed right now, but if you do have questions about it, we're here. I would imagine. Oh, there we go. So potentially we can have Mike pop on. I think I see him coming in. But that's where we're gonna be. Also, is he here?
Hello?
Oh, I don't have earphones on.
Uh-oh.
So that's going to end up being a problem. Okay, so Mike, do you want to take it over for a few
Yeah,
seconds and
I
I'm going to go
got
get
it.
my earphones? And I basically you go ahead and then I'll be here in
Yeah.
a minute. Okay.
Okay. Hey, everybody, how you doing? I'm Mike. Oh, life can be hard. It's challenging. There's so many difficulties self-inflicted, maybe. I'll tell you this. There's my alarm. I was up too late last night because I put myself in a stupid situation in the first place. So that's why I missed my alarm. And why do I do this to myself? I got to take care of myself. I got to respect myself. Do I love myself? I don't know. I really don't seem to. A lot of things I do to myself imply that oh, there we go. Look at that's a nice background. Oh, is that too big? Whee! But the things I do are just silly. I'm a silly man. I made a lot of mistakes in life. I'm trying to do better every day, but I seem to just do things that hurt me intentionally, self-sabotage, whatever it is. I've learned patterns of behavior where I have disrespected myself consistently, and that's sad. It makes me sad inside. Do you do the same thing? Do you do things that you wonder why you do them? Things that you question? Hey, why do I treat myself this way? I know a lot of people out there can relate to this. They really can. And that's what's sad. You try to find ways to get better, but then you're just still stuck in your same old ways. And me, I do that. I got problems. Yeah. I'm just a sad individual. I don't care for myself enough. And I have so much to look forward to. I have so much to live for. And, I love my wife and I love life. It's great. You only get one shot. But, if you're afraid of dying, then why would you not enjoy life to the max? Death is a scary thing, and it's going to happen to all of us, and we're all going to be gone someday. We'll never come back to this plane of existence. It's over when it's over. So you really should enjoy the good times while you got them, but it's easier said than done sometimes. Right, Leanne?
Yeah. Okay, so
Hi.
what part did I miss? We went into death?
I don't know, just rambling.
Okay. Well, I did 10 minutes prior and saying that. Yeah, so I'm going to get Mike up to speed real quick, you guys. So
Okay.
I made the decision that we are going to dissolve the first day pod. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to see, how you were saying before that we can take the YouTube and the Facebook and all that kind of stuff and like rebrand it into the Friendly Show. So then we have that. I'm going to look into doing that or putting up a banner that says, hey, come on over to the Friendly Show. And then what we can do is periodically when you and I can get our schedule together, then we can do an episode like this on the Friendly Show and just keep it simple. That way there's no pressure of us trying to get our schedules together anymore.
Oh,
and
that's
we
pretty
can
smart.
And we can talk. Well, you had mentioned doing something similar months ago, and I wasn't ready to hear it because I was like, we can do both of them together. And it's just becoming difficult. I mean, like, we don't see each other that often anyway. So, like, it's not that we are not making time just for the podcast. Like, it's hard to make time for us as a couple in general. So I figure that way I keep up the Friendly Show because that's easier for me because it's single. It's my schedule kind of thing. And then when we can do it, maybe we'll do more than 12 episodes, or maybe we'll do the first day of the month, or maybe we'll just whatever. But then we get to still have this because I don't want to miss this. And I know people love listening to you and talking to you and seeing your insights. So I don't want people to miss out on that. So I think that would probably be the better way of going.
Okay, honey.
I get okay, honey, a lot.
What? Okay, I'm agreeing.
I know. This is so interesting.
Why?
Because I don't know. I don't know.
I agree with you.
I know. It's so nice. And every woman wants that, just like for their husband to see. I just always expect there to be like some sort of pushback. Like, no, we can do it this way. I guess I'm the only one really in the relationship that gives pushback about like, but what if we do this? You're pretty decisive. If it sounds like a good idea, you're good at going with it, which is really nice.
Did you take your bandage off?
No, did you?
No, but you should.
Do you want to do it here?
No, because I got to wipe it off.
Oh, I don't remember the rules.
You're supposed to take out the bandage and brush it off with a clean, like paper towel.
Oh, right, because there's a layer on it.
Yeah, we got to remove the layer.
Oh,
But don't
okay.
use a rag or anything, just a paper towel.
Show everybody. Yay!
Got tattoos underneath these things yesterday.
Oh,
Got one thing right yesterday. We did it. I did it.
We did it. Yay. I wish I had something to drink. I'll pretend. Cheers. Yes, we did it right. So that's exciting. So we have our rings. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Yes. Mine is beautiful. Mike's is really cool. I'm so excited about it.
I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
We love each other, and now we've got that taken care of. So, you know, we made some progress this year so far. So February 4th, there's still time.
Yeah.
Year's not over yet, but
no.
I don't know. Life could be so disappointing. And usually you could disappoint everybody yourself, you know. I got nobody to blame but myself when I don't do things that I need to do, and when I make mistakes, and it's just I'm tired of letting myself down. I'm so sick of it, And you got to talk to people. You got to talk about why. Why do I let myself down? Why do I let others down? Why do I have these learned behaviors I just continue to lean on, and I want to change, and I obsess about changing all the time, but yet there I am. A day passes by, no change has taken place, no change occurs. It's a ridiculous trap of constantly thinking about changing, knowing I want to change, understanding negative outcomes from my behavior, and yet I'm still stuck in them. And, I think that has something to do with executive function. I think I got problems with my executive function. I don't know why, but that might be the case.
Really?
And you don't... Yeah, well, I mean, if you're not organized and you're not able to create change and do things you want to do, then it usually has to do with the executive function in the front part of your brain. And a lot of people have that and may not be diagnosed with that. It doesn't take a necessary disorder to label it that. But I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's just something we know about the brain and how it works. So, what can I say? Life is just a real challenge. And if you're not up for it, you still got to play ball anyways. So,
hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
God.
Well, I really do think that we need to start where we're just taking the little steps. That's the only thing that's been helping me is just those baby steps. Because I used to be, I'm going to just go like no sugar and exercise every day and get my sleep and do my water and la 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 la. And I had all of these things that I wanted to do. And I would start first day of the week or first day of the month or first day of the year and want to do all of them. And it never worked for me ever. Even though like I always pushed and grind and tried, and then I would burn and then go back to like, it was hard. And people talk all the time about like making little micro shifts and taking little habits and doing the little things and then compounding it and being consistent with it and building on it. And that just didn't sound fun. It didn't sound like it was like, that's not anything to be proud of. But now a year later, I'm actually really proud of it. And I did it. I did it that way where my food is still, that's my last thing. That's the hard thing for me. But I got all the rest of it in check. I used to not drink any of my water, and now I get at least
love it.
I do. Well, I don't love it. I don't, but I'm drinking it. Like I do at least 2 liters, and I do it I do at least 2 liters, and I usually get half my weight in water, but I just started there. And then I started with the walking. And then because I was doing the walking, the only time I could fit walking in was in the morning. And so then it was hell to get up in the morning when I wasn't getting to bed on time. So then I started
Yeah.
doing that. So it was like one change forced other changes.
Ooh, I like that.
So I
One
think,
changed. Oh! Sorry. One change to rule them all?
well, it just inspires change in other areas, and then pick. Oh, what is this? Okay,
Yeah, look at
great. We're
this,
gonna,
this little
yeah.
chart.
Okay, go ahead, explain
Executive
it.
dysfunction. Look at that. Whoa, that's too close.
Some
There we
examples
go.
of executive dysfunction. Go ahead, read them.
Okay, this little chart here on the website. Executive dysfunction is not an official diagnosis. Like I said, it's just something that can happen. And some of the symptoms are focusing too much on just one thing. I think we've all been there, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about being easily distractible? Daydreaming or spacing out when you shouldn't be. And then there's struggling to switch between tasks.
Mm.
How about problems with impulse control? This showing betting chips, pills, and wine. So that's all addiction, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then trouble starting difficult or boring tasks. That's anybody, though. Come on. That's like the whole world. The whole world has executive dysfunction, if that's the case. But there you go. If any of
Well,
those 6 symptoms sound familiar, you could have some executive function issues.
I absolutely do. Those really lay up with ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
So is that ADHD is an executive functioning disorder?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Dysfunction. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But you could not have ADHD and have some other symptoms that show you have executive dysfunction in your brain. So, something to think about. You know, blame yourselves, blame myself for all my problems and my disappointments, and my failures. Despite I'm always trying. So, what gives? You know, what's the deal? If I'm always trying and I'm always failing, what's the real story? Something to think about.
You're also not always failing. Like, I think that's part of it.
Always failing. 24/7. My name is Mr. Failure. I'm Mr. Failure.
Yep. So it's just not true.
Okay, it's not true.
But we can feel that way. Like that's the problem, is that we feel that way, and then it makes us want to just sit in that, and then it makes us aware of all the things that we're not doing. Where if we could, like, I was telling you this last night, doing that exercise where when I get out of the shower before I get dressed, and I don't do it all the time, but I've
Yeah.
I've been doing it a lot more. Um, I look at myself, and instead of with like judgy eyes and like picking apart everything, I'm being kind to it. And when I see things that I don't like, I'm realizing that those were decisions that I made that got me there. So, like, when I see stretch marks, when I see cellulite, a lot of those were food choices that I just
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed in the moment. And I'm the one that made those choices. Nobody put the food in my mouth and made me chew it and ingest it. I made those choices.
Yeah,
And
but
so
the food was addictive.
yes, I get that, but also you got away from taking opioids, and those are super addictive, and you still made that change. So making that
All I
change,
did was replace it for a medicine. So
that's also not that was a choice that you made to get off of the pills,
it was.
and it wasn't easy.
No. I don't know.
That
Yeah.
It's easy
I
not
see what
to
you're saying.
remember. It's easy not to remember that transition because now you're just in this. Like we forget where we were and how we were feeling or what we were going through and the transition that we had to make. You didn't just, oh, this is perfect. I'm just going to take this and then it's going to be okay. It was a big
Yeah,
transition to get from that point to this point.
that's true.
And so
You
now
speak the truth.
do you see how like I'm always showing my hand? Now that I have the big black bandage on it, I realize how much people are going to be able to see it. I'm so excited.
Yay!
So, yay. So, anyway, I think we need to be last year, the first time in over 20 years, it was probably close to 25 years, that my New Year's resolution did not include losing weight. That was the first time
Wow.
in all of that time. And all I wanted was just to give myself grace that year. It was just that's it.
Gracie!
Gracie, my puppy. And I just wanted to give myself grace and I did that. But then it got to a point that I was like, I can't keep just giving myself grace and like letting myself off the hook. Now that I can give myself grace when I screw up, I need to take action in it. And so then that was in the summer when we started training for the marathon and I
Mm,
started doing the walking. And then I was like, oh, I need to stop snoozing because when I snooze, I don't get up to
you
go for the
lose.
walk. I do. I do.
Oink.
They were all little like, you can't see it until you do it, and then you look back, and it's like, "Oh, shit. These are the steps that I took to get to this point." And so now a year
Yeah.
later, or even 6 months later, I don't even think I was really doing all this stuff up until the spring because the winter, I'm not a happy camper. I don't like not being able to go outside and that changed for me this year because even when it was 10 below, I was still going outside because now it had become a habit and I didn't want to give that up. But every year I've always said that winter was my hardest year because I don't have the sun and I don't have, and they were all just excuses. But
Mm-hmm.
making all those little choices, now I can look back and be like, oh shit, that's why I lost the 20 pounds. That's why I'm like sleeping better. That's why I'm like, my complexion is better. Like all of these things are better, but I only see it because I can look back at what I did.
Yeah.
So like
I hear you.
what's one thing that you can do that if you focused on one thing that it would make all the difference? Maybe that's like a little fun task that you can do today that you can like write down all the things that you want to do and then the changes that you want to make and the steps that you need and then just figure out that one thing. I think you talked to me about it last night too. But if you just pick
Just
one
what?
thing,
Loving myself?
yeah,
Is that
you can
it?
you can start there or the not eating past 8, like in your case,
Oh, right. Well, I thought if I loved myself, that I wouldn't do things to hurt myself.
that is a big
Because that's
part of it.
one thing.
Yes.
Why don't I love myself?
How
Just
and
don't understand it.
how do you show love to yourself? I think that was for
You got to
me.
show me love.
I think for me that was one of the things that was like we can keep saying that like I told you, I love myself. I love
Yeah.
myself. And
Yeah.
you're like, "Do you?" Because you're not showing
Yeah.
it. And it's like, but I feel it. Like I feel like I love myself. And it's true. If we don't show it, then you're not feeling it because if I didn't show you that I love you, but I was just like I love you and then like never showing up, never saying anything to you, never doing anything for you, would you believe that I love you just because I was saying it? No. So we have to figure out what we need because we want that from our partner, right? Like I want acts of service. That's my thing. Acts of service is totally my love language. Like when you do
Mm-hmm.
things for me, I'm like, "Oh my god, he loves me." Like you could buy me a car and I'd be like, "Cool, thanks. He likes me like that. He knows what I like." But that's not a love language for me. Service is a love language for me. Like when you do things for me, oh my gosh, that's like super sexy and that's like he loves me. So when I realize that, that's what I need to do for myself. So when you figure out what your love language is and what you want from me and what feels good from me, you've got to do that for yourself. What's your love language?
I don't know.
Words of affirmation?
No,
Touch?
I think, yeah. I like touch.
So maybe you could do that.
Touch me more.
But even you could do that. Like you could do
Oh,
I find I yes, I can. But even like I find that I do that for myself a lot. If I'm feeling like up like tense, I will touch my heart and like my chest and it calms me down. Like it there is something to that. You'll find me doing that a lot. It feels really good.
hmm. Okay.
So,
Well,
I would figure out what you need to do to actually show yourself that you love yourself.
yeah, you're right about that. That's definitely number one.
And keeping our promises to ourselves. That not hitting the snooze has been a game changer for me because that's I lie to myself every morning because I hit the snooze 7 times. I set my alarm for 6 o'clock, but then I like hit the snooze until 7. So I'm lying to myself all the time. But now that like, oh, my alarm
Lying
goes
to
off.
yourself because you hit the snooze. I mean, that's a little harsh.
It is not harsh. That is your subconscious doesn't know what's a big lie and what's a little lie. It just knows that you're not keeping your promise to yourself. So when I go to bed and I say, tomorrow's going to be the day that I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to start my day. And then I go and hit the snooze, I'm not waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's magic. If you can say, okay, I'm going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And what you need to do is figure out what's the real time that you want to wake up. So if you actually want to wake up at 6:30, but you tell yourself you want to wake up at 6 because you know you're going to hit the snooze 3 times or 4 times, then don't do that. Set your alarm for 6:30 and don't hit the snooze. Tell yourself, I'm going to get up at 6:30, then get up at 6:30, and then your brain and your nervous system is like, shit. All right. I guess we keep our promises to ourselves now. And it sounds really trite, but that's where it started for me. And
Hmm.
then it was confident that like, oh, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to actually do it. When you say you're going to do something, you do it, Mike. Like you come and if you tell me you're going to be somewhere, you do it. If you tell your clients you're going to be there, you're there. But then when you tell yourself like today is going to be the day that I'm going to whatever, fill in the blank, because it's you, you don't do that for yourself. So if
Yeah,
we can
well,
just you don't
not so
know?
sure that's the case anymore. Yeah.
What do you mean?
I let everybody down in my life. You know, I don't do things. I cancel on things. I flake out on things. I mean, that might have been true once upon a time, but I've definitely slipped in that world. My reputation as a person that people want to rely on is slipping. And that's my own fault.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're there for me.
I try to be.
Yeah.
Still don't always succeed there either. So, and it's not because it's your fault at all or you're demanding. It's I just disappoint and I don't follow through on things. I make mistakes and just so tired of it. So clearly, you can't just do the same thing over and over again. You know, I need support from the outside world and people in it. You know, I need to be involved in at least with groups that are working through the similar issues that I have, you know, with my own issues related to not going. I don't know. It's not social anxiety. It's because to me, I really figured this out recently, a couple of months ago, that my active drug addiction, when I was addicted to opioids, it was something I did alone and I isolated all the time doing that. And I've taken that experience, which I learned behavior I did daily for, you know, a good 6 years, 5 years. And I stopped taking the pills, but I still have the same behavior, the same routine. So I'm not on opioids anymore, but all of the conditions and learned behaviors and routines that were associated with my use are still with me. And that's a serious problem. That's what it is. I learned to live that way, and I thought, I'm not taking opioids anymore, but I haven't changed everything else, and I need to talk to a therapist. I need to be in support groups that are similar to me, and people could relate to me, and they can offer suggestions, and I can share things with them. So that's really my big problem. I think it all stems, really does, from my addiction and the things I learned while I was taking pills every day, taking opioids every day. That's it.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, it does. But at the same time, then there was things that I learned before that with food. I always ate food late at night, even when I was about, 18, 19. As soon as I got out of high school, went to college and was living on my own, and I learned those behaviors. And then when I was addicted to pills, I was still associating getting high with my meals. And so none of that changed. I tried to change it. I had a period in 2020 there for about 4 or 5 months where I changed my behaviors. But I didn't change them all the way totally, because I was eating a lot of protein. I was eating chicken and steak, and I'd eat at like 7, 8 o'clock at night at the latest. Wouldn't eat too late. And then I hadn't changed the late night eating. Every night I would have a bag of that Boom Chicka popcorn, the purple bag of popcorn. Mm-hmm. But I lost like 25 pounds doing that diet. But I still hadn't truly changed everything, because I was eating I was eating 2 big bags of popcorn every night in bed. Yet I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
So I guess that tells you about how much calories I was taking in prior. And I was also exercising 5 days a week. So there you go. What looks like change isn't complete change. Someone out there may be fooling themselves saying, I've changed this, I'm eating differently. But there's still other hallmarks of your previous behavior that hasn't completely changed.
Absolutely.
So, that's it. That's my story. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so what does that mean? Like, what are you going to do? Do you want to make those changes? Do you want to get yourself into those groups? And so what are you going to do as you're like, when you get off this podcast, what is the first step that you're going to take?
I don't know. I'm really tired right now.
Thank you for being here.
But, yeah, I'm sorry. I was late.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to look for a therapist. And even though I don't have insurance, maybe I'll find one. So we'll see about that. And then I will look at groups. I'll go, I hate Facebook. I think Facebook sucks. It's for old white dudes and people who thought the internet was still the same 10 years ago. I don't know. I think Facebook's lame, but they got a lot of groups on there, so I could probably look around. And I remember last time I was on Facebook, I still was connected to all these groups. Every day people are posting in these addiction groups like, I'm 72 hours off pills, I'm off drugs, I'm really struggling. And these are real people, so who cares what the website is? If there's real people out there you can connect with, and it's worth doing.
Absolutely.
So take a look at that.
Okay. Good. And you don't think there's any benefit in the trying to keep your promise to yourself in small things to build your confidence?
I've tried that. I've done that so many times. It hasn't worked.
No?
I've done it so many times. It has not worked.
What have you done?
Made a promise to myself. All right,
No,
I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to eat bad food. I'm not going to eat after a certain time. All that stuff. I've made the promise to myself and it's never worked. So that's not going to work for me.
But what about, okay, so that's fine. But those are, you're basically saying I'm not going to I'm not going to feed into my addiction, whether it's behavioral addiction or substance addiction, it's still addiction. So you're saying I'm just not going to do it today, and then the addiction takes over. But are there other things that you can do that you could take control over? That's why the snooze, it sounds really trite, but the snooze is so important because that's not an addiction. That's just you can actually change that. And that can be one step that every morning you just do that and build the confidence that when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And then, like, even like just building habits of whatever you think is going to be beneficial to you, but that's not ingrained in you staying up at night or you eating alone at night or you doing any of the behavioral addiction parts, because that's hard to change. But if you start changing your identity, then don't you think that that might have some benefit to you?
No, because I've always ended up right back where I am. So it's not going to work for me. I'm making that very clear. I know from experience. It's not like I haven't tried. So I'm not being stubborn. I'm just telling you. You keep saying that, but it's not going to work for me.
But
I know that.
But don't you use them based just on your addiction? Aren't those the only promises that you're trying to keep from yourself?
No, I've made all kinds of promises to myself in all phases to improve my life, and I've never stuck to them.
Okay.
In any try to change I've made. So that's not concrete enough. No, I'm going to manipulate myself and not stick to those. And I know that. I'm aware of it.
That's fair.
So it's going to take more than that, It's going to take making an effort. No, that's not going to be good enough either.
Okay.
It's going to require consistency, and it's going to require support, and it's going to require constant vigilance and discussion and awareness and having it be on top of mind and on top of all the conversations in my life outside of working. So,
okay, good.
That's what it's going to take.
Are you ready for that?
I'm ready. Yes. I am ready.
Okay.
I'm so sick of this trash. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to just want to get up each day and be at peace. Be content with my life. So, and that's very doable because I got a lot of things going for me that I want in my life to be content. So, just got to put it all together by making these decisions and working with people in supportive ways to constantly make change. And once change takes shape, then good things will happen. Okay. But you got to remember, for me, even these little factors and variables that are still representative of the things that I don't want to be doing anymore. It's got to all be tweaked, I've never been somebody who's like, abstinence is the way to go. And a lot of things that doesn't work, but, it's like Dave and Judy Wolf said, abstinence from sugar. That was the only way to be. And that worked for them,
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't have some of it anymore. They couldn't moderate. And that's true for some people. Some people, we can't have it in moderation. The party's over for some of us. Other people, they can do that. But it's on a case-by-case basis for each individual out there. You have to know, honestly, without manipulating yourself, what is truly best for you. No BS.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all really good at BSing ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that this show would at all be beneficial for you to keep it up every week?
Of course.
Like for the accountability portion of it, for the support portion of it?
Of course. Yeah, if I'm living my life the way I should be, this show would be active and useful. So if I'm not living my life the way I need to be, then this show doesn't exist.
So do you want to ignore the first 10 minutes of this podcast episode and
Oh, we can just delete it, yeah.
But if it's going to help you.
Yeah. I said I'm going to delete the first 10 minutes, honey.
Oh, I thought you meant just delete.
No, delete the first 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or we could just put
our best life. The show matters.
Okay. Well, then that's good. Then I wouldn't delete the first 10 minutes. I would put, when you put your like, hey, welcome to the first day pod, blah, 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 and then you say like what the show is going to be about. You can say, hey, you can listen to the first 10 minutes, but listen to the last 10 minutes to get the real scoop of what's going on with the show. Because I think they should hear where we thought we were going to be, because it was just true. I think that's the problem too, is that with life, I really don't want the first 10 minutes deleted, because I don't want to make it sound like we knew what we were doing and that we're going to like, okay, this is it. Like, that's what's going to help us and we're going to continue doing it. This is how change happens, is that you work through like what works, what doesn't work. And if it doesn't, to me, it made perfect sense in the beginning to say, okay, I'm making the executive decision that we are just going to stop this. And when Mike's available, he can come on and he'll be on the other show. Now, after having like conversation and going through it, then now I think that we should have the show. If you think that it's not going to add to your schedule, if we can pick a time, or maybe not even picking a time in advance, just saying, okay, we're going to do the show like on a Tuesday afternoon. We're like, hey, you know what? I don't have clients tonight. Let's do it tonight at 8. And we just say, hey guys, going live in 5. Like, and whoever's here is here. They're meant to listen to it. And then it's always being out there once a week on the actual podcast places. It takes the pressure off for right now, but then you can still show up every week.
Yep. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad we did this.
All right. Me too. Let's try it again.
Yeah. Sorry I was late.
I was late too. I didn't come on until 12:15 because I couldn't figure out how to do all of this. You know, that background thing? I couldn't figure out. It had like a 2-person thing, and
yeah, you got to change these things down here.
Yeah.
These little people icons.
Yeah,
pick this one.
Yeah.
Pick this one, or it was probably on this one.
It was on that one.
Hey, let's see. Or we can zoom in. Whoa!
Hey, guys. That's funny.
Or this. Hey, it's just you.
Oh,
or look,
where'd you go? Where are you?
I'm not here. I don't know.
Can they hear you?
Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you.
You can't hear me? Yeah,
I can.
Of course they can hear me. So.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, you can customize the screen to look any way you want.
Oh, this is so cool.
You could have a big presentation thing on, and you could be tiny in the corner. So, yeah,
that's like what you did when you showed the executive function.
That's right.
Wow, technology, so exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So we're getting back to a weekly show.
I hope so.
Okay.
If I'm living the proper life I need to be, then this show is, once a week and constantly being used for the betterment of myself and the people who connect with it. And of course, you are included in that.
Okay.
You know, it's real simple. The show existed to make a difference as an outlet for people to speak openly and honestly about things they don't get to talk about every day at work or wherever. Things that are building up inside of you and things you know are detrimental to you, or things you just need to say to feel better. You know, and anybody can jump in and say anything they want. There's no limitations here. Yeah. And we're trying not to, judgment is just rampant anyways. Everybody who's part of this show probably judges themselves all the time. I know I judge myself all the time. So try to reduce that judgment will help too. But, in a way, judgment also recognizes the things that it's not all bad necessarily. You don't need to look at judgment through the prism of, I see things about you that need to be judged in a negative way. But judgment also recognizes the things in our lives that we need to work on. Judgment has a purpose. Judgment helped people survive when, we didn't have suburbs and buildings to live in. Making judgments about what was good and bad for you, what was risky for you, is a good thing. It's important to have that. There's a fine line between judging the things that will hurt you or help you versus, sitting in judgment and just being cruel. And I think too often the word judgment in United States culture means that we're judging somebody negatively, that we're better than them or something. But we need to spin that too. That needs to be modified.
Didn't we have a episode where we talked about, or maybe it was a book club that we just talked about it, but about the difference between judgment and discernment? Am I confusing
I
those?
don't know. I don't remember our past episodes, but I don't know. Maybe
it was just in the book club, but that there's judgment and then there's discernment, where we just have to make discernment all the time about like what's good and what's good for us and what's not good for us. But yeah, I agree. There's so much out there that is just everything's black or white. Like everybody thinks that like one word, especially in the English language, it's so fascinating because our English words have like a million meanings and so much nuance. And yet we're like, oh, this one's the popular one. So we're just going to that's wrong. Like even discipline, like people, oh, you're going to discipline your children. Like you can't do that. You got to be kind to your children. Giving your children discipline, giving ourselves discipline is kind. But it's like, yeah, like throwing them against the walls, not kind. That's like a bad form of discipline. But like giving discipline is not, like discipline's one of those words too. Judgment's one of those words that it's like it's got a bad rap, but we need it. Yeah. Very fascinating. Yep. All right.
You're right.
I'm excited. So we'll come back next week then and
Yay!
see how things are going.
Okay. This is great. I'm glad we did this.
Would it make sense to keep this up, or for the friendly show for you to come on and do an episode once a week on the friendly show? You don't want to do that?
I thought we just made a decision already.
We did. See, this is what I'm saying, guys, is that like he makes a decision, we're good. And then I am like, but what if? Here's the thing that I'm thinking is I don't want to keep up social on both.
Yeah, no one's going to do social for this.
Okay.
So I can come on that show. I don't care.
All right. All right. Well, then we'll do that. We'll figure that out. If it's just going to be, we'll make that decision today. I really have to think about like what that means for social and all the rest of it, because I don't want to keep anything up extra like in two places. I don't have the bandwidth for that.
Yeah, well, you don't have to.
Okay.
You just don't. You don't have to.
Okay. All right. Well, then that sounds good. I'm glad you're here. I was going to just wrap up. When you were coming on, I was like ready just to start wrapping up. So this was good. Yeah. I love you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I love you very much. Yes. First Aid Pod. Thanks, everybody. firstaidpod@gmail.com. I'll send us an email. And yeah, we're still here. I guess we're still out here. This is a real show. And thanks for supporting us. And if you heard anything today that you can connect with, empathize with, just let us know. firstaidpod@gmail.com. For Leanne, I'm Michael.
Bye.